AITA for telling my wife that I think it's wrong to make our 13-year-old hang out with her same age cousin. My wife has 2 sisters and is close to both. Their mom died when they were young, so they bonded over the loss and became very close. We have 2 kids, Chris, 16 meters, and Kaylee, 13F. My wife's old sister also has 2 kids, Owen, 17 meters, and Emma, 16F. They live about 5 minutes from us, and our kids attend the same school. They have always hung out as a group of 3. My Chris and their Emma are a week apart in age and Owen is only a little over a year older, so they grew up together and used to call themselves triplets. They are still quite close. My wife's younger sister has a daughter, Jaya, who is 3 months older than mine. The younger sister always made comments when our girls were babies about how she can't wait until they are the ages of the big kids, meaning Chris, Owen, and Emma, because they'll be just as close. The problem is that Kaylee doesn't like hanging out with Jaya, and it's becoming more obvious as they get older that they are 2 different people. Kaylee likes soccer and video games. Jaya isn't allowed to play video games and isn't interested in sports. Kaylee is a social butterfly and Jaya is a homebody. All of this was manageable, but Jaya also has some more immature interest. She still enjoys playing with dolls and engages in pretend play. For example, when Kaylee goes over their house to sleep over, she says Jaya likes playing school or mommies. Playing school means they set up all of the stuffed animals and pretend to teach them. Mommies is when they play with the baby dolls and pretend to be mommies. I have nothing against pretend play and think it's nice that Jaya doesn't feel pressured to grow up too fast, but it's clear that Kaylee and her are on different wavelengths. Now that things are opening back up, Jaya's mom said she can't wait to have Kaylee over. Kaylee said she doesn't want to sleep over Jaya's. She said she'll still interact with Jaya at family events, but doesn't want to sleep over there anymore or go over to play. This upset my wife a lot. She said Kaylee doesn't get a say. Later that night I told my wife I sided with Kaylee. I don't think she should be forced to hang out with Jaya. My wife flipped and said that I'm an only child, so I will never understand her family values and how this isn't up for discussion. I told her that wasn't fair. Kaylee should get a say, and she said that you don't get a say when it comes to family. We argued for a while before I told her that we would be having this discussion later, and she didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. Was I the asshole? I haven't brought it up again, but plan to unless I'm totally in the wrong. Edit. I thought I made this clear, but will say it again because of the comments I'm getting. Kaylee is not interested in hanging out with Jaya rather than for full family events. For example, we normally have dinner with my wife's sisters and dad every Sunday. Kaylee is fine hanging out with Jaya then, but doesn't want to be on that. Additional info. Other than her immature interest, Jaya is a normal 13-year-old girl. Edit. Jaya does cry when she doesn't get her way, and that's another reason Kaylee is no longer enjoying playing with her cousin. I wouldn't say it's tantrum behavior. Her mom and my wife think it's just hormones and normal, but she locks herself in the bathroom until she pulls herself together. I should have mentioned that earlier, but my wife and her sisters think it's normal teen girl stuff. Edit. Sorry for so many edits. Just trying to paint a clearer picture. Last summer Jaya and Kaylee hung out about 4 to 5 days a week. Now, this was normal for Chris, Emma, and Owen when they were 12 over 13. I would say they were over more often than that and had sleepovers most nights. They have a lot of the same friends since they go to the same school and play some of the same sports. My wife and younger sister are trying to recreate this with Kaylee and Jaya, but Kaylee doesn't want it. Again, she is okay with the weekly dinners, but doesn't want the one-on-one playdates and sleepovers with Jaya. I'm getting a lot of heat over the word immature. All I meant by that is Kaylee, who stopped playing mommies a long time ago, sees it as immature. If Kaylee suggests another game, then Jaya cries and locks herself in the bathroom. To me that is childlike behavior, but I do not think any less of Jaya because of this. I do not dislike her. I love her, like she is my own blood. I'm very sorry for hurting people with the use of the word immature. This upset my wife a lot. She said Kaylee doesn't get a say. NTA. Your wife is controlling. Kaylee is 13 and old enough to realize what interests her. They may become friends as they get older, but forcing it is awkward and will never work. Point this. Jaya will grow up in time. If Op's wife and sister manage not to completely torch the relationship between the two girls now, they will have room to grow closer as they age. My siblings and I basically hated each other until we were all adults. My mother always held fast that "we were family, we will be there for each other forever," but never forced us into interacting or anything we didn't want. Now, we all live in different parts of the country, but love each other dearly and visit often. Op's wife can teach Kaylee that Jaya will be a lifelong "sister" to her, someone she can count on to always be there for her, without forcing her to sleep over or even be particularly close with her during their teen years. NTA. As it stands now, your daughter doesn't mind hanging out with her cousin at family events. If your wife keeps forcing her to hang out with her outside of that, she will start to resent her, and it may push her to be cold or mean towards her cousin. Your wife isn't doing anyone any favors here. Edited to change my vote from NA to NTA. NTA. It's a little ironic that your wife has such stout family first ideas, but then doesn't even listen to her own daughter. You sound like a good dad. Point seems to me it's family first, as long as what his wife wants. I thought of this too. If at 13 my parents tried to force a friendship with anyone, I would have just been on my phone the entire time. Or just made it increasingly awkward by being disagreeable with copious amounts of sighing to break apart the forced silences. Yeah, this won't end well. Op's wife is taking this as a personal affront to her, when it's just life. Kaylee not wanting to be hangout Jaya beyond the weekly family dinners does not invalidate the closeness between Op's wife and sisters. You can't force people to bond. Op's wife needs to rein it in. Trauma created the closeness between the wife and sisters. She's going to push Kaylee away by making her resent this forced closeness. NTA. Maybe your wife will start to get it after your daughter snaps at her cousin. It sounds like their emotional maturity levels are different and your wife is setting Jaya up to get made fun of to her face. Point by the sound of it, she probably won't. It'll probably be Op's fault for not supporting his wife in forcing the daughter to spend time with someone that's completely different to them. NTA. I feel like children at that age absolutely have a say in who their peer groupies, unless the peers they want, are questionable. This is just someone she has nothing in common with and thinks is kinda off. Nothing wrong with that. She shouldn't be forced to attend sleepovers there, and your daughter was very diplomatic about it. She'll be cordial and friendly at family functions, but just doesn't want to be her cousin's bestie because they have nothing in common and just are not on the same wavelength. I do think that the reason Jaya's mommy's so gung-ho may be because the only kids Jaya has managed to get to stick around long-term are family members, meaning she probably has difficulty making friends and keeping them in school or other activities, which I find likely. Based on your description, is your relationship with the mom good enough that you could maybe raise the issue with her in a kind way and maybe offer some insight and advice on what she can do to encourage her daughter to make friends that aren't there, by force? It's a thought. NTA. Forcing this friendship on your daughter isn't helping anyone. As long as she knows to be polite to Jaya at family functions, you can't force them to be friends. Things may change/improve between them in the future, but she shouldn't be forced to have sleepovers. NTA. And agreed with the people who said good for you for sticking up for Kaylee's needs and not trying to artificially force a bond. One suggestion I haven't seen is rather than send her over to Jaya's house, have you tried inviting Jaya over to your house? Have Kaylee set up some games or activities she would enjoy doing with Jaya in a more comfortable environment. That way Jaya would see things Kaylee is more interested in and maybe the problem solves itself. Jaya won't sleep over our house. She gets homesick. NTA. Holy shit, dude. Things are exactly the reasons kid cut off from their parents. Good on you for sticking up for your daughter. Every kid should have a say in who they hang out, especially when it comes to family. It's sad that a lot of people like your wife don't give them that freedom of choice. If you pressure them to hang out now, they may never recover their relationship. If you give them space now, they might come back together down the line. NTA. I'm sorry, what? Kaylee doesn't get a say? What kind of backwards ass thinking is that? What does your wife think she's teaching her child by saying she doesn't have a choice but to hang out with someone who, perhaps in this case, makes her uncomfortable? Kaylee is 13 years old. That is both a very impressionable age and old enough to start knowing what she wants. Sure, you can say kids change their minds about stuff all the time and it's probably true, but you can guarantee that regardless of whether she wants to hang out with Jaya next week, next month, next year, she will remember that her dad stood by her when she said she didn't want to. Edit. I would also like to add that if Kaylee really doesn't want to be there, it will show and make Jaya feel bad too. Stand your ground. NTA. This is just going to breed resentment all around. Jaya may be young, but she will pick up on Kaylee not wanting to be there and it likely will hurt more than if they grew apart naturally. Kaylee right now sounds like she is happy to be civil and friendly with Jaya, but that will go out the window if she is forced to spend time with her. They likely will be much closer as adults if your wife would back off. That being said, I think you might want to look into some Dungeon and Dragon style games for them. It actually might be a good balance. It has the game aspects for your daughter and the make-believe aspect for Jaya. I still don't think they should be forced, but I think there might be some options that they would both enjoy. NTA. As long as Kaylee is being kind to Jaya and spending time with her at family events, I don't know why she should be forced to go beyond that. You can't force friendship, and trying to will only breed resentment. Also, you never know, maybe over time they will naturally develop a close relationship if they are left to figure it out themselves and on their terms. I will say though, I may feel this way because I don't share your wife's values around family. I think you do choose your family, and someone being a blood relative doesn't automatically mean they should be part of your life. NTA. If your wife still insists, give Kaylee permission to not play what her cousin wants. She doesn't have to be mean, but more just say I don't like playing mommies or school and want to do something else. Maybe she can suggest a movie. She can be nice while not also be forced to do something she doesn't enjoy. Eventually, if Kaylee doesn't play how Jaya wants, she will probably stop inviting her over. AITA. I'm not in agreement with your wife, BTW. I kept reading, and I started to think this reminded me of my cousins. I have lots on one side, and we were kind of born in bunches. One from my age bunch was like Jaya, in that she continued to play dolls and younger games, and ended up drifting into the playgroups of the next younger bunch. She seemed to be stuck in about 5th grade. She still is, now at 40 yo. Everyone kept trying to ignore that she was mentally retarded, and I mean that in the medical diagnosis way, until things got so bad in middle school that the adults had to recognize it. She was failed by her doctors, her elementary school, and her family. Everyone, at least the vocal people, just thought she was dumb, a little slow, a little immature, etc. All of this is awful, I know that now. Anyway, this is an issue for the adults to help with. It is not an issue for a 13-year-old to solve, and you should not put responsibility on your daughter. It sounds like your daughter would be okay with her at family events, and probably able to play with her there, as if Jaya was a slightly younger cousin. NTA. I get that your wife wants the whole really close family thing, but that doesn't work for every family member. Especially if the basis of them getting on is simply that they're related. Kaylee and Jaya's friendship is going to end very badly if she continues to be forced over there. At 13, she shouldn't be forced to hang out with someone if she doesn't want to. If your wife insists on forcing her around there, tell Kaylee to say I'm sorry. He'd rather play/do something else like insert suggestion. Being mean could bite her in the ass with all the Jaya tells aunt tells mum. Kaylee gets shouted at etc. Make sure to defend her though. She said that you don't get a say when it comes to family. This attitude can result in a lot of toxic family expectations, etc. Please do not teach your daughter that she can say no to someone because they are family. NTA. As a teenager myself, I absolutely loathe being forced to hang out with some of my same-aged relatives. You might have been an only child, but family values aren't like that. If Kaylee and Jaya want to have a relationship, a deeper one, they can, but neither party should be pressured into it. She should fully not be required to sleep over. Evidently Kaylee doesn't enjoy it, and I doubt Jaya does either. You're totally right, and I think you need to make sure that your wife understands not to pressure your daughter into these things. NTA. You get to pick your kids' friends when they are too young to have an opinion on it, but 13 is old enough for her to decide if she doesn't want to spend time with someone. You can't force her to like someone, and making her have sleepovers with her cousin will only make her resent you. NTA. The whole "hey, here is another child of the same age, go play together so the adults can chat" thing stops working when you hit tweens. Being related isn't going to guarantee closeness. Lots of actual brothers and sisters aren't close. It is fine to ask her to sleep over if you and your wife want some alone time and all the kids are out of the house. But forcing a relationship is going to make your daughter resent her cousin more, and probably make it only a matter of time before she acts out on it. Maybe when they are older they will find more in common, but it's time to take a step back and let your daughter pick her own friends.